So we welcome to the program now Representative Stacey Hobgood-Wilkes. She represents District 108, which incorporates Pearl River County. It's just one county?
One county.
One county.
One
Okay.
great county.
And in the past, you served as our notes say, the vice chair of the House Constitution Committee.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
We don't know what's going to happen this year yet, do we?
We don't know.
All right, so we were just talking about the bomb threat. You just shared that all clear.
All clear. Second bomb threat this year, this session, and but all clear.
We didn't expect that to kick the year off, did we?
Not at all. We were expecting a lot of things, but that was not one of them.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. So, gaveling in today?
Yes, 2 o'clock, and they will actually swear in the statewide officials today.
Okay.
At 2.
That was supposed to happen yesterday, I thought. Or did we do?
Today.
Okay. It's been today. All right.
Today.
My misunderstanding there.
Yep.
Okay.
As far as I know, it's today.
Yeah. So when do you think we'll get committee chairs? I think in the past I've seen it's like 2 weeks before the committee meetings start to convene. So
I think
end of the month.
It's usually on a Friday, but I think it'll be either next Friday or the following Friday. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
You hearing anything? Any buzz you can share with us on that?
Not really. I mean, you hear a lot of things, but the accuracy of that, is not really worth repeating. The speaker's held that pretty close to his chest, which is very understandable.
Yeah,
and
sure.
So any believable stuff out there, no, nothing to really to report. It's kind of no one knows.
Right. And so the members are asked, are they not, to
Yes.
sort of indicate their preferences?
Yes, they are. And I believe new members are guaranteed their top several, and then the ones with their seniority, they're guaranteed like a few more of your picks. But I think we picked 10 committees, and it doesn't guarantee anything. I think you're guaranteed, like I said, a couple. But other than that, they put you where they feel that they need you.
Okay. Do you think the number of committees is too many, not enough, just right?
Probably a little many, but
Yeah. The Senate's where I have a bigger issue with that when we have more committees than we have members.
yeah.
Just because of the composition in terms
Yeah.
of number of members.
Yeah.
52 members, and I think last time I looked at it, right, Rhino, we had more committees than we had members, like 56 or something like that last year.
Yeah.
Well,
But as long as they're sending legitimate bills and the committees are working, then I have no problem with it. So
Okay.
I know we're looking at a couple of new committees for the House, which I think are going to be good and effective. So
interesting.
Yep.
Well, what are you going to be working on? What are your priorities? Let's talk about that.
Well, one of the big things that I'm working on right now is EMS. EMS is in a national crisis, and it really hasn't been touched since it was formed, 50 or 60 years ago. And so the governor created a task force, and myself and Senator Branning are the two legislators on that task force. And it's a task force full of people from that field of all the different sectors. And it's really been good because we are having they are having problems with recruitment, with retention and reimbursements. So there's a lot that has to be done there because so many people think when you call, the EMS, you call an ambulance, you get a ride to the hospital.
Yeah.
But they have so many life-saving skills on there to save lives, and they do so much more. So there's a lot that we have to do to keep that in place so that it's there when we need it to protect and serve the people.
And that's managed, is it not, by the Department of Health?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
So is that typically, from a committee perspective, is that the purview of the Health Committee? Usually legislation pertaining to that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it should go to the Health Committee, but it's not just Mississippi. It is nationwide, and everyone's really looking at it and looking at reforms. But so many people too, they don't go into to that because there's not a career path.
Yeah.
So we're looking at career paths and things. And I had a bill a few years ago where it let paramedics work as a paramedic off of an ambulance, because prior to that you couldn't. If you were a paramedic, really the only place you could work was on an ambulance.
Okay.
So now you can work in the private sector at Ingalls or somewhere else that might want a paramedic that would fit that need more so than a nurse or someone like that. So we're moving in the right direction, but there's so much to be done in such a short period of time because of the need and the shortage. So that's why the governor created that task force, and excited to work on some legislation stuff for that this session.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, we'll be watching that. Some of the key issues that, of course, kind of find their way to the top. We hear a lot. You probably do from your constituents. So one is the ballot initiative process.
Yes.
That a lot of folks have said we need to restore that. I think that's the common view of certainly the public, the citizens of the state. We've had 2 years, hadn't been able to get that done. What do you think about that this year?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard any, talks on the numbers, because that seems to be the problem on, coming to an agreement on something.
Yeah.
I do think the people need a voice, which they do have a voice as a legislator, too, in their seats. But the people do have a right and have a voice. But you just have to be careful, because I truly believe that there was a lot of misinformation and things that went out with the marijuana whole thing with that on the ballot, and when you can put in a couple of $1 million and buy your way into the Constitution, that's a problem. So I think one of the things which I'm good with, I'm not okay with it going back into the Constitution, but if we do it legislatively where it can be changed if there's problems. And two, a big problem with it, when it went in the Constitution, so many other states saw unintended consequences. So as they went through there and saw, oh, this didn't work, you can't just go in there and change it. So legislatively is the way to go on that. The numbers, I'm not sure how to make it fair, but I think it has to be something that keeps you from buying your way in, but also the people have representation.
Okay. Yeah, so in the past, that's been the sticking point, the number of signatures, where the House has had a lower threshold, keeping the existing threshold.
Right.
And the Senate wanted more.
Right.
So that we got to maybe find something in between
Something in between, and I really haven't heard any talks on it. I know it's still an issue, still being talked about, but what those numbers are, I have not heard.
I got you. What about continuing to work on tax reform? We got pretty significant legislation done there, eliminating the 4% bracket, reducing the 5 down to 4 over 3 years. Talk about that, and then, of course, possibly addressing the 7% sales tax on groceries. Where do you come down on that?
Yeah, that's one of the highest, I think, percentages in the nation. So
at the state level, it is.
At the state level, yes. So we definitely need to do that, because I think that eliminating that grocery tax or way reducing it, that helps everyone. It helps, your retired people on a fixed income that really don't see a benefit from the removing the income tax. Poor families, us, everybody that goes, and shops for groceries, it helps everyone. The more money we put in our pocket and decide what to do, the better off we are. Okay. I mean, I work for the government, but we're better decisions with our money, make better decisions with our money than the government does. And so, and I think if we can eliminate the income tax or reduce it, I mean, it's going to bring in more businesses to Mississippi. Yeah. But we do have to have triggers, and we do have to do it responsibly.
Okay. So speaking of which, I'm not sure if you had a chance to read the article that I wrote about PERS. I've noted that on the program I call it the elephant in the room. It's a big old problem that nobody has really wanted to address, certainly during an election year. The Speaker knows this is something that we have to take up. What are you hearing? How do you feel about that?
We are going to have to address it. Yeah. And while everyone hates to have to do that, leadership calls on unpopular decisions sometimes. You have to make tough decisions. It's hard because I don't believe in breaking contracts that you have with someone. Someone's paid in all this time and guaranteed something, and how do you go and just say, oops, sorry? If I tell you I'm going to pay you $50 and you come to mow my yard, and you come mow my yard, and then you mow it, and I was like, well, I'm just going to give you $25. So I don't believe in changing that contract, but at the same time, we have to figure out a way for future people coming in, and also what we can do right now to make it sustainable. Otherwise, it's not going to be there. Right. I mean, it's really in a critical state, and something's really going to have to be done. So,
I mean, as it stands right now, as you probably know, we're scheduled to see the employer rate tick up. Mm-hmm. And in fact, the latest proposal by the PERS board is let's do it 2% per year for the next 5 years till we get to what the actuaries say it needs to be. That's a 10% increase in employer expenses on their payroll, which is significantly mostly affects, of course, school districts, municipalities, and counties. It's a big old problem for them.
Exactly. It all trickles down. So finding that sweet spot, how you can less affect, someone is going to be very tough, but it has to be done.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear.
Unfortunately.
If you can hang around, we keep talking and go through some other issues.
Love to.
Right. We got Representative Stacey Hobgood-Wilkes in the Element Wealth studio. Stay with us. We're visiting with Representative Stacey Hobgood-Wilkes, represents District 108, which covers Pearl River County. Does somebody else have a part of Pearl River County, or do you have the whole county?
Representative Jansen Owen has the north end of the county,
Okay.
and Representative Ladner has a piece of it, too.
Okay. All right, so we've talked about PERS. We talked about the ballot initiative. What about, talked a little bit about tax reform. I think health care is something else that the speaker certainly wants to address. Where do you see that going at this point?
You're talking about on the Medicaid expansion?
Well, I mean, that's one idea, but just that our hospitals, many of them, even those I pointed this out, even those in the urban areas, we typically focus on the rural hospitals is losing money, but unfortunately, we have hospitals in our most populated areas which are bleeding as well financially. No pun intended there. But and we have a huge uninsured population as well, one of the highest in the country, third or fourth highest in the country. And so the speaker, he's indicated, I heard him this morning say he wants to address that. I mean, Medicaid expansion seems to always be what folks point to on both sides. We need to do Medicaid expansion to solve this problem. No Medicaid expansion won't solve that problem or won't actually fix anything. But I think we got to consider alternatives and maybe create a brain trust that can address this issue.
Yeah. I'm not for expanding Medicaid. I think I just don't think it's a good thing when you add more people to the Medicaid roll. They come off the private sector, and that increases premiums in the private sector. And also the governor, with the negotiations that he made and got the higher reimbursement rate, I'm hearing from some hospitals that where they were like in the hole, like they're like millions up now because of that. Yeah. And we put a big infusion into our hospitals last session. Yep. So hopefully, over time and proper management of these hospitals, that things will start turning around. Okay. Is there work to be done still? Absolutely. But my big thing is we pumped all that money into the hospitals and done that and fixed all that. But if we don't pump some money into EMS and work on these things that I was speaking to you earlier, we're going to have a big situation just like we did with our hospitals with the EMS. I mean, you're going to call an ambulance and there's not going to be one available. So we need to be looking at pumping money into that as well.
Okay. Well, that's right. The governor, of course, made a request to CMS to enhance the payments to base Medicaid, some $700 million a year. When you net it out, comes out to a little under $600 million a year because you've got the loss of some of the disproportionate share payments and other expenses there. And that was done without any cost to the state. Because the hospital stepped up and said, we'll cover the state's portion of that, essentially. Yes. So do you have any thoughts about how we should handle the extension of care to those that don't have insurance and, frankly, can't afford it? I mean, I'm a person making $15,000 a year. I'm an adult. I make minimum wage. We have a lot of that in our state. They're working.
We do have a lot.
Too many, honestly. And they get sick. They contract some sort of serious medical issue that could cost a whole bunch of money, and the hospitals end up absorbing that cost now. Right. Is what happens. You have some thoughts about how we should handle that? I
really don't, but I do know, like, for instance, when we were talking about the EMS things earlier, so telemedicine and different things like that, I think, can help a lot and reduce, like, hospital stays. I know, like, right now, if you call an ambulance and they come out and you had, your blood sugar dropped or something, and they look at you, check you out, and don't take you to the hospital, they don't get compensated for that care that they came out and gave you. So I'm thinking on some things like that. If you can provide telemedicine to some people, that keeps people out of the ERs, that keeps expenses down for hospitals where they're losing money in that. All the other things, I'm not in the medical field. I'm not really sure how to fix that, to be honest. I'm really not. But I'm like you. I mean, we need to take care of people, not only as government, but as Christians, and make sure that they have, food and the care that they need. It's our responsibility, I believe. Yeah. So for those that are not able to take care of themselves, what that solution is, I don't know, but I think we definitely need to, to look at it and talk about it and see what options are out there and maybe what other states similar to ours are doing successfully. Yeah.
Okay. That sounds good. What about something else that the speaker has indicated he has an interest in addressing is school choice, education freedom. Where do you stand on that?
I support school choice, but I also think that the devil's in the details, and I don't want it to be where it's only for a few people, but at the same time, I know you can't just overload the system and let everybody in at one time. You have a bunch of school districts that are doing really well. So I think the schools have need a say in, turning someone down or, having criteria. And it just has to be done right. Again, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Look at other states that are doing really well with it and model after them and make the changes based on that we need to. But I definitely support school choice.
That's true. We have some good templates for that.
We do.
And,
no need to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
It can't just be a free-for-all and open up the door, especially starting out. And you gotta do it carefully to not set up schools right now that are really good and set them up for failure.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree. And I think there are a lot of fears that are espoused by opponents of school choice that I think are a bit out of bounds, that aren't actually accurate. And I've just felt like that we need to address those objections and get those who oppose it, especially in the legislature, because we know most Democrats don't support this. Our problem is with the Republicans, with our own caucus,
right,
where we've got kind of split views on this.
Right. And like you said, a lot of it is just myths and untruths and things like that. So I think that we need to really have, some hearings or have some things where it all comes out and it's discussed. I want to vote for the bill. Can I say I'll 100% vote for it? I can't say that. I haven't seen it. Yeah. But I do support school choice, and hopefully it'll be done right where I can support it. But knowledge is powerful, and I think there's, just like with that EMS, corrections, so many different things, that the health care, I'm not as familiar with some of that as I should be on the hospital situations. So much of that, we just need more information to be able to make these decisions.
Yeah.
So I think the more information we can get on it, I think probably the more support that it would find.
I agree with you that we should, I would like to see the legislature, see how you feel about this, to bring in more subject matter experts and people that are actually directly affected by lots of this policy. I know we do that to some extent. I think we could do a better job. I think we could invite more people from the field to come in and educate.
And that's where your knowledge is. My background is insurance and also public relations. So I, all the time, when I'm working on legislation or know something's coming up in fields that I'm not, because I can't be an expert in all these, things.
Sure.
I contact people back home, or even if it's not from back home, some contact that I've made. And that's what I love, networking up here, meeting different people, and you have resources. And I contact people that know a lot more than me and say, hey, what do you think about this? And get information, or where can I go to find more resources to study this? So you're exactly right. Yeah. It's hard to make decisions on something that you don't know anything about.
I agree. And it also seems like, and get your take on this, there's a bit of a difference, a contrast in the complexion of the House and the Senate.
Yes.
Without asking you to say too much about that, but we still have Republican supermajorities in both chambers, and then, of course, we have a Republican governor. It's amazing how much we don't agree on and where we don't align between the two chambers, the two houses.
And I think a lot of that, too, goes back to what you just said, and knowledge and what's presented in the bills, and how much you know about them.
Yeah.
From one of the things that the speaker talked about, we're going to have a lot of discussion more on different legislation, and so I think that discussing these bills more and under different leadership, Philip Gunn did a great job, but I think it's going to be a different kind of form of leadership. We're all excited, but I think we're hoping that we can come more together as Republicans and work more together and get things done.
Do you see the dynamic a little different, to the extent you want to comment, with respect to the Lieutenant Governor and Speaker Jason White relative to the Lieutenant Governor and Speaker Philip Gunn? Do you think that relationship will change any? I think no secret, they had some conflicts, on policy positions here and there.
I think that I think they will both look at the bigger picture, and there's legislators that I don't necessarily agree with on policy, but we still like each other and we're still friends. And you may disagree on one thing, but later you might work with them on something else. And I think that's the same way it's going to be with our Speaker and Lieutenant Governor, that they're going to hopefully compromise and work well where they can, so that we can do what's best for Mississippi.
Okay. Well, we certainly look forward to getting to the meat of the session, which will be coming up pretty soon. And we appreciate you coming in, Representative Stacey Hobgood-Wilkes.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. We're coming right back in the Element Well studio.